Welcome back to my channel. Now that we've mastered one-point perspective, let's dissect two-point perspective. If you haven't seen my one-point perspective video, please make sure you watch it before you watch this one. I will leave the link down below. In this video, I will show you what two-point perspective is, where you can find it, and make sure to watch till the end because I will be showing you how you can implement it in your own artwork. So these are all two-point perspective images here that you're seeing right now. Now, when would you come across it? You see it predominantly in man-made objects that resemble a cube kind of a shape. And most commonly, you see it in buildings. So if you want to create a sketch or a painting of a house, a building, or even a room, you need to know your two-point perspective first. Unlike one-point perspective, which you can see, for example, in natural objects like a tree, for example, you've got these two straight parallel lines that are going through, or, other things that can sometimes naturally occur. Two-point perspective is much harder to see in just natural objects, but much more likely to be present in man-made objects. Now, let's have a look. What is two-point perspective? I know it's gonna sound kind of funny, but it's a one-point perspective doubled. So, just like with one-point perspective, we've got our line of horizon or our eye level, and rather than one vanishing point, now we have two of them. And to have your two-point perspective, you have to have at least 4 lines. So you know how for one point we need at least 2 parallel lines? For this one we need minimum 4. So what happens? This on its own is a one-point perspective. But these two together become two-point perspective. Let's have a look again and see what happens when, for example, we've got a cube or a block that's standing in front of us. But we want to make sure that it's correct and say, imagine it's a very large one as well, something like a building, for instance. What happens here? Now we've got these two parallel lines and we've got these two parallel lines, and of course both of these would have their own vanishing point, just like on this image here. So if we carry on these lines, again you can use a ruler for this if you're just starting to draw. So have a look, we've got this. But not only these lines comply with that rule, these lines here also comply with them. So this line is going to go together towards this vanishing point, and this line here is going to go together with this vanishing point. And there you go. Now we have corrected our cube for it to be, for this part to be in perspective with these ones. And if we erase the lines that we don't need, you would be able to see how much knowing the two-point perspective rule helped us. So again, just to go over this, with one-point perspective, we only had the length of the object that was changed because of the perspective. Two-point perspective, your length and your width that are changed, or the way we see it, because of the perspective. Okay, now let's have a look at other things. But before we do that, I would like to remind you to subscribe and press the notification bell so you won't miss out on any other videos that can give you a lot of important information. Now I would like to show you how to employ these rules of two-point perspective into your own artwork. But before I do that, I just wanted to get over a couple of other points that I usually see bamboozles my students a little bit. So if you are standing quite far away from the building, that change that you see in your perspective won't be too strong. If you are standing quite close to the building, on the other hand, you get to observe a very strong change in size. Why does this happen? This happens because when you are standing quite far away from the building, there isn't that much difference between how close this to you or this. There is still some difference, but not as much. That's why there isn't much of the change, because remember, our perspective is how close or how far away things are. Please make sure to watch a video with one-point perspective, because I talk in quite a bit of detail about this there. Now, if you are standing quite close to the building, even though it's the same building, perhaps same size, you're standing quite close to it, the distance between here and there creates a stronger variation, because that difference is much stronger to you because you're standing right there. Same thing happens if you are standing next to a larger building. So the larger the building, again, the bigger that distance is, the stronger the change in perspective you will generally get. That's why when you are holding a little box in your hands, you might not even notice the perspective, but when you are looking at this box times, I don't know, 10,000, you are already standing next to a container, for example, and that size difference, a few meters, already create a really visible perspective change. So now let's have a look at how two-point perspective can really be reflected in our artwork. So I'm going to draw a building, and this building is not too far away, so I can't draw the vanishing point within my piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put these lines through, and then I'm just going to go along these two lines. Okay, so just imagining that they're narrowing down that way, and they'd be meeting somewhere really far away off the picture plane. And the other side, where lines would meet at another vanishing point, again, somewhere off the picture plane. So now I've got this here, but the building itself is not that long. So I'm going to draw the sides. So now I pretty much have this kind of a container cube with nothing on it. This building has a lot of lines, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw all of these lines all the way through, so not even just on the building, but outside the building as well, just so that I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'll erase these ones so they don't confuse me. Then I'm going to put another line here, and same here. There are some bushes on the side. Okay, now I'm going to divide this part in two again with the line, because what it'll do is it will help me to draw the windows. And now I'm going to mark the windows through. And you see, I can actually do even these lines here to make it a bit easy, because all the windows are the same. Okay, now next would be the windows on the bottom, and I am going to you can put some details in. And so on. Now I'm going to put other details, like for example an entrance and another window, and there's some windows here. So again, to draw these windows, I'm going to, and I can't really see them well there because of the bushes. So you see how even though I'm drawing a lot of details and they seem to be quite different from the actual shape, it's so much easier to add these things on when you've got everything lined up already, rather than trying to fit things and then they sort of are not going on the same level, they're all sort of dancing along. Okay, and then you can always erase the lines, get into the details or whatever you would like to do, and you can use, say for example, a pen. I will just do a really quick time-lapse, sort of a sketch of it to show you guys how it goes along. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also guys, let me know what else you would like to see a video on. Perhaps you've got an idea or maybe a technique that you would like to learn. So you can just leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell. I promise you won't regret it. I've got so much more stuff coming up for you guys. Also check out my Patreon page, where for just $8 a month you get to see all the extra videos that are not available on YouTube, with all the tricks, tips and other stuff that you might like. And thanks so much for everyone who is already supporting me there. Have a lovely day, and as always, thank you for drawing with me. And here I've got a really good example in the artwork of 2-point perspective. So see, you've got this side of the building, and then you've got this side of the building that's going away, and then the same thing here. You've got a lot of 1-point perspective happening there as well. This is artwork by Chernitsov, which was done in 1842. And here is another one by Alexeyev, which is, again, you can see 1 point of perspective and then another one going that way as well.